The lights are slowly coming back on in Texas as the state's power grid is restored after days of blackouts.
Right now, over 70,000 remain without power this morning.
Grady Trimble from our sister network, Fox Business, is live in Dallas as nearly half of Texas is still without clean water. Grady?
Good morning, Will, Jed, and Pete. In about an hour and a half, this church parking lot will become a water distribution site. And with so many Texans under boil water notices from here in West Fort Worth to Austin and Houston, people are getting desperate for the bare necessities. They're willing to wait in long lines for food and water. At this point, many grocery stores remain closed, and the ones that are open have been wiped clean. They haven't gotten new shipments of food and water. Meanwhile, a Corpus Christi man is suing ERCOT, the operator of the Texas power grid. He claims ERCOT didn't boost the power supply ahead of the storm or winterize it. Governor Greg Abbott is also placing the blame on ERCOT.
ERCOT's annual winter assessment, which was designed to ensure the state is prepared, that assessment assured the public of Texas that there would be enough power to meet peak demand this winter. ERCOT fell short on all three of these promises they made, which is exactly why that I have ordered the state legislature to investigate.
President Biden is expected to sign a major disaster declaration to get even more much-needed relief to the people of the Lone Star State. Guys.
All right, thanks, Grady. The whole experience makes us realize exactly how vulnerable we are to a power outage. All right, the damage from the winter storm causing hurdles for first responders as well.
From reports of frozen fire hydrants forcing firefighters to find alternatives to fight the blaze, to the shortage of clean water and medical supplies impacting local hospitals, heroes are making adjustments to save lives.
Fox News medical contributor Dr. Mark Siegel joins us now to discuss. Doctor, thanks for being here this morning. So when you look at all of the risks, all of the complications in Texas, what does your mind focus in on?
Good morning, guys. Well, you know, I talked to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick last night, and he made a really good point, which is this was a Category 5 ice storm that came over everybody so suddenly that there wasn't preparation for this, and that's what led to all of the problems, with water freezing in pipes, with power going off to millions of people. That's why the #1 health risk here right now is when you tell 14 million people to boil water. That makes me worried about infection, about dysentery. Are people going to get dehydrated? Do they have enough medical supplies? The power's back on almost everywhere except for about 100,000 homes. Power's back on, but is there water flowing in the pipes? And as was just said in the report, there's not a lot of potable water around, even in the grocery stores around. Now, FEMA's involved. They're bringing down 225,000 meals and plenty of water, but we got to get it to the people who need it the most, and blankets, of course. But now the weather's warmer, so I'm much more concerned about water and food. And then one more thing, there's people there that are on oxygen, that had oxygen compressors go off when they lost their power. How are they doing? How are the people with chronic medical conditions doing who relied on their power in order to stay alive?
Oh, Dr. Siegel, there's elderly people who lost power, lost heat. The toll on this is yet to be counted. By the way, I was one of those people who boiling water this week, but I didn't know. My family didn't know in Texas for several days, so it did make us wonder, what were we drinking? What were we taking in? Quickly, we wanted to ask you about first responders as well, because there's difficulty, for example, putting out fires in Texas right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. And there's a lot of issues with people that got carbon monoxide because they were so cold that they got in their cars, but their garage doors were closed. That's a huge issue. Hypothermia is a big issue. Putting out fires is a big issue. Plenty of emergency responders were there, by the way. But a lot of times, Will, they had trouble getting to the people who needed it the most because they couldn't get into their homes or they didn't know how to figure out where they were. Health and Human Services has a way of tracking this for Medicare patients, but it takes a while to put all of this into a coordination. And the fact that FEMA's coming on the ground now will definitely help.
Doctor, if you could just quickly speak to the hospitals themselves, and are you concerned about the machinery within the hospitals running properly, the sanitary conditions that could potentially, be compromised in a hospital? Your thoughts?
Jed, I'm very concerned about that because of COVID-19 patients in the hospital, because in some hospitals the power went down. In some hospitals, so many people turned their water on because they thought the pipes would freeze, that the water level was low in some of the hospitals, and then the hospitals lost water, and then people were drinking whatever bottled water they had. That can interfere with infection control precautions. So I'm worried about infection in hospitals as well. And one more thing, of course, is people getting injured out on the streets, especially now with icicles falling. That's something else we worry about, in injuries from falls.
Dr. Mark Siegel, we appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.